Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMels24, Yuyanamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now, I would normally offer you over to whoever is in Gilded and G+, so you could enjoy their dulcet tones. However, there is nobody to hand over to, as I am actually on my own, having had an overload of my iGPU encoder, whatever the hell that meant. So I looked up what that issue was, and it could have been that it was not activated, but in reality it was. So I've just turned down the resolution of the stream that's live. Hopefully that will solve the issue. Don't know why there's an issue, given that it streamed perfectly for quite some time, for several days, and that wasn't an actual issue that I was facing, but there we go, that's the way the life is sometimes. So I've made an alteration that I didn't think I had to, and hopefully I can load up them, as they're all waiting around for me to actually join back to the stream, and I'll pass over to them when I'm actually into the meeting, which should only take a few seconds, hopefully, if I'm efficient enough with my clicking of buttons while I'm jabbering away about what I'm doing. Very, very frustrating, as I say, this issue with stream encoding, because as I say, don't think that was something I'd ever considered being a problem, given that it worked perfectly for several days, if not weeks prior. But there we go. It may be that there's an issue that I haven't noticed that I've caused elsewhere. In any event, hopefully I can get the attention of these guys and let them know that I am recording. So, hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah. Okie doke. Right, I've just got to get myself into Discord and get this page looking a little bit prettier.
Hey, welcome back.
Gilding.
My iGPU was turned on, so I have no idea why that happened. I wish I had an answer. It's like yesterday. I've made an adjustment to something that I don't think was a problem, because I've worked with the settings that were going into Discord and into OBS for a couple of weeks now. I turned up the resolution a while back. I've turned it down. It's like, well, I don't know why. It worked, but now it doesn't. So there we go.
All good.
Not really. God, I hope next week's better than this week. This has probably been my worst week.
It's all good. Don't be a pessimist. You're going to figure it out. Then you're going to miss these days.
No, I'm not. No.
So when you gain knowledge, you're troubleshooting. It's absolutely necessary for the future.
Yeah, as I say, I've had to turn down the resolution, which is a bit disappointing. Not that I think that'll solve the issue. I don't see any reason why the encoder should be overloaded. Anyway.
Are you recording now, Nathan?
I am, yeah. This is the stream. If you want to keep talking, I will start the live stream again in about 5 minutes once I've clicked buttons. But if you can talk amongst yourself, so I don't have to talk to you, that'd be really helpful.
No worries. Yeah, I was considering doing. I have a presentation I was putting together for for airplanes as well. That's another one. It's just trying to get around to doing it. That's all.
Yep, that's a good one. Just airplanes alone could destroy the sphere.
There's not. I truly believe that it is the greatest of all proofs, simply because it's something that everyone can take on board and establish for themselves and experience. Whereas with celestial navigation, it's something that's more complicated because people get lost in all the minutiae. But when it comes to air travel, no matter what a baller says to someone who's a normie, when they go on a plane, they can see, hang on a second, yeah, the plane is doing exactly as that flat earther said it does. And there is no evidence for it accounting for curvature.
You sound like
Sorry,
Bev.
Nathan?
I said you sound like Bev.
Do I? Why is that?
Simpler. It's simpler. I thought this was a whites only panel. What are you doing here, Brian?
A whites only panel?
Yeah, Alwyn was
Yeah,
getting a
keep
bit
it simple.
racist in Master B. That's all. Eli was trying to get in, so he's trying to enforce some kind of flat Earth debate apartheid. I think, I don't know.
Oh, Eli was he?
Well, John's just called you out. Apparently, the Irish are just as bad.
Yeah.
Lower our own tone. I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking about redoing my old presentation on orientation of down.
That was going to be part of my presentation.
I thought you were saying you're the same position of Brian not being allowed on the panel because he's white, not white.
No, he's British, so that out trumps anything.
I'm not. I'm Irish.
I was reading the old
Only when you win.
argument. What's that?
He said, I'm not British. I'm Irish. It's like, if you're winning at something, you're British. If you're losing at something, you're Irish.
Yeah, definitely. Although there was a big one yesterday, Brian. Respect, bro. You beat us at cricket.
We beat you at cricket. I didn't even know we had a. Ireland beat England.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even know we had a cricket team.
Yeah, one of the first games of the Cricket World Cup, you beat us. It was on Duckworth Lewis,
World Cup,
but you won.
Off with his head. He didn't know he had a cricket team.
Jiminy.
Wow.
No, I was reading an old.
Hurling now.
I'm trying to help you here, Brian. I'm trying to help you here. I was reading an old argument against the Globers, and the guy obviously was during, when planes were around. He says, yeah, a plane would have to account for 60,000 feet of change adjustment each hour. So this plane argument was used way back then.
Well, it would be a constant accumulation. So that would be more of a laid out hour by hour calculation. The accumulation would be, see, I don't think that's the right way to argue it. The right way to argue it is through degrees. So a plane flying from London Heathrow to LAX would have to, once it reached cruising altitude, which would be very difficult for it to do as far as takeoff goes with the Globe, but anyway, once it reached cruising altitude, it would then, at that point, from that point on, have to have an absolute accumulation of below horizontal pitch. So it ends up, I think it's 78 degrees or 87, I'm not sure which one. Let's say 78 just to be on the safe side. 78 degrees below its starting pitch, which would be horizontal. So 78 degrees below horizontal.
That won't be complicated.
Yeah.
Welcome. Flat Earth Debate Live. Take 2. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, once again, we are joined by 10th Man, Arwin, the Adam Meakin, Brian's Logic, Refracted Curvature, Quantum Eraser, welcome, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded. So welcome, one and all.
Hello again.
Hello.
Welcome back. Welcome
Hello
back.
again.
Okay. So I think because I wasn't recording when I was streaming live at 1440p 60 to my members, I hadn't actually accounted for the fact that both streaming at that resolution and encoding and recording at that resolution might cause a bit of a problem. So I've just turned down the resolution. So it won't be a high definition stream. It'll just be a high definition stream. So better than 720, still at 1080, still running at 60 frames per second, but it's just 1440s beyond even the very best of hardware to stream and record at the same time. Fine. No worries. 1080's going to have to be good enough.
Are you saying
Anyway,
in 4 years' time this will look terrible?
that's what my argument to you
Yeah.
was a couple of days ago, right? I want to keep ahead of the times. Well, it seems keeping ahead of the times means I can't have a backup recording, so that goes without saying we're going to be at this resolution because I'm going to have to. I want to record, because if something goes wrong, like it did, you keep the recording. Anyway, for the audience that are watching this after the fact, right? There's a reason there's a little B at the end of the number, whatever the hell the number is, into the 1700s or something. But that B represents the fact that the last live stream just went completely tits up, and now we're on to the same live stream. So if you're wondering why there's not that anybody's keeping track of the housekeeping questions being asked in some concise way at all, but I'm going to make that disclaimer anyway, in case you're wondering, oh, why didn't you cover Earth Curve? Because we cover it in the other 6-minute live show, that's why. Anyway, so we've had Earth Curve, and I want to keep on that theme by asking, is there any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
An impossibility.
Well, a curved adjacent is not something that exists in reality. So no.
Right. They'd have to bypass it and get all complicated based on the assumed axial point towards the dead center of the ball Earth. It's convoluted. It's not actually used. You need a flat plane to do it properly.
That's why they, in their books, the origin of the angle is the equatorial plane. It's just the plane we live on, but they call it the equatorial plane. So who would have thunk that the angle will destroy the sphere model, which doesn't exist? The very word angle.
Any
Kind of
evidence
on that note, has anybody looked at the definition of circle in a while?
Not in recent
I
couple of
have.
weeks, maybe? Go on, why'd you ask?
Two-dimensional.
Because in Euclidean geometry, circles can only be drawn on planes, and so circles of equal altitude can't be drawn on a sphere because it doesn't fit the definition.
Good point. That
Yeah,
does sound a lot
two-dimensional.
like Bev Try Thinking in terms of his points, which are equally cogent and excellent in that regard, right? We're talking about geometry. You've got to define your geometric terms. And if your bent radial value, curving, lifting altitude, area of equal elevation doesn't comport with the actual geometry of it being two-dimensionally drawn on a plane, as you've just described, then you're just not meeting the definitions that we're being held to if we're doing stuff and navigating, for example, which is where you'll use your circle of equal elevation. I mean, there's no way around it, really. You're pointing out that the definition is circle, and that's going to require a plane to draw it on in terms of its geometry. Okay, I agree. But it qualifies the type of circle in the description of it, doesn't it? It says area of equal elevation, right? Circle of equal altitude. What does equal altitude mean? It's not like they're trying to say it's bent and you've got bits below you dropping away 8 inches per mile squared. They make it absolutely explicitly clear area of equal elevation, circle of equal altitude. These things aren't confusing. They're in plain English.
It's a rewording of the original objection Brian had, which is you can't have a bent R. It's just an extrapolation of that, really. But that fundamentally was the same thing when Brian said that. You can't have a bent R, but it sits on a flat plane.
Godzilla says, this stream
Exactly,
has
Adam.
brought to you by Tube. There's going to be letters that are missing that are in a conundrum that we haven't got. I've had a stressful morning. Look, I've got to be honest, Godzilla. Figuring out your super chat is not as easy as saying, thank you very much for the support. I really appreciate it, Godzilla. That and I haven't got the chat to display, which I'm just useless. Where's the chat? I can see it on my backup chat and I can't put it up on screen. Anybody figure out what the hell Godzilla's saying? Thank you for the support, by the way, in all seriousness.
This stress has been brought to you by YouTube, I think.
Right.
On the circle of equal altitude, we last year started labeling that more correctly, because it's actually the circle of equal angle. And that is what I say to ballers. You can't, whereas the angle, when they put that circle, when they try and curve the R, which is an impossibility, as it destroys pi, you try and put that onto, and shrink the circle to put it onto a spherical surface, then you don't have an equal angle. You don't have any angle, because you then have a curved, not just a curved R in that circumstance, you have a curved adjacent, which is non-existent also. So radius lines and adjacents have to be straight. You have no angle to anything at that point once you place that circle onto a sphere. You have no angle because there is no angle possible.
Well, there's no way someone could go to the extreme extent of trying to redefine a radius as anything but straight. I mean, that's just discounts them from the argument, but that's what they do.
Jen, this isn't happening on screen. It all looks tidy and was always.
Just gone bad.
Right, Godzilla's given us the reply. The super chat was making fun of the audio quality of your first attempted stream. Right, okay. Yeah, get lost. Thank you for the super chat. It was only 6 minutes. Look, I made the decision there and then. Look, cut your losses. It's very unprofessional to have terrible quality stream and just go, well, it's like an aeroplane, right? Once you're in the air, you just got to kind of deal with it. You could just get on with it. No, put that plane back on the ground, sort out the flaming engine, and then get back in the air. That's what I've done.
Nathan, I see you have the no Bitcoin for you image up. Still to this day, they have not stepped up to claim their Bitcoin. All they have to do is prove R in the sphere Earth. And yet they had a challenge from McToon for $10,000, just chump change. And they had a bunch of disclaimers in the agreement that we can use the Nautical Almanac, we can use anything that they derived as globe base, when obviously none of it is. You can't get an elevation angle with a curved baseline. So what's happened to that thing? I haven't heard anything about the stupid $10,000 challenge with all the disclaimers that Adam read that one time, which no one would sign that agreement because there's no way to win the way they wrote it. Whereas the Bitcoin is, hey, just prove that we live on a sphere and you get Bitcoin.
Contraire. No way to win.
And who protects that?
Hold on. No way to win the 10 grand tied up in disclaimers and red pen on contracts that they want you to commit to so that you'll never get a dime out of them. You'll only never get the 10 grand. You won't not win. On the contrary, the moment they put it to us, I haven't read any of the terms and conditions. I couldn't give a crap. I wouldn't want their dirty money in this regard that you'd never get anyway. I just say you needed an elevation angle off a flat plane. To this day, Protothad still comes into my comments and starts pointing out how this and that and the other angle, and I just stop reading the rest of his comment and just post the same exact reply. I've pasted the exact same reply to Protothad probably in excess of 100 times now. With him, he's not important enough to keep track of, but it is in excess of 100 times, I can assure you. Where I just say, angle? You don't need a flat earth for that. Here's 20 citations. It used to be 10. People have added to them. They're easy to find because angles are angles and they're never going to have curved surfaces. So he's lost and gone nuts and feels it's his obligation to keep commenting about angles. It's like, mate, you've already died on your ass with these angles that need a flat plane to get. You died on your ass when you presented it to us. What's that? Why wouldn't we get the 10 grand? Because it's tied up in red tape. Nobody's appealing to the 10 grand. Everyone's appealing to the flat earth that you needed to make the challenge.
Well, I can give you history about MC Toon's challenge, right? It first came out via Bob the Science Guy when Bob came onto the show, and it was Proto's challenge. Now, what MC Toon did is he took Proto's challenge, changed a few small things around, still the exact same thing, right? Just changed around maybe what stars they were using or whatever. And then what they did, right, is they put out the challenge with all these critiques, right? If that's the right word. You must do this, you must do that, you must do the other thing. And one of the critiques that was right out on the show and laughed at is you must use flat earth geometry, right? Whatever the hell that is. And Bev called him out on this. Bev read it, called him out on it, and made an absolute fool of him. So he redid it and brought it out without the flat out geometry part in, and he was pushing it. And I said, okay then, why don't you take your challenge and you prove your globe with your challenge? And I didn't even think about or even mention the Bitcoin, but that would have been, he could have got that. I said, you go and prove your challenge with, you go and prove your globe with your challenge. And he disappeared. And a lot of people didn't know why he disappeared. It was because me. He disappeared because I did. I got rid of him. Because straight away, you have to go around. If that supposedly proves the globe, then you go and prove it using celestial navigation.
Although you mentioned it in
all
passing.
the steps go through the whole thing.
I was going to say, although you mentioned it in passing, if they're saying, regardless of their phraseology, it's going to debunk a flat earth, okay, so it's going to prove we're on a curved surface then. Why haven't they come and presented it for Bitcoin? Oh, is it because before it even got anywhere near coming close to this show for Bitcoin via Dave Weiss, they'd already been told that the angles they were presenting to be used, how they'd work on a flat earth, were measured on a flat earth. That's how far it got. I think it's going to be put up for Bitcoin proof. What's this? What's this angle here? This measurement here? What's that? That's an angle you got from a flat plane. So what are you talking about? Where's the angle you got from a curved surface? Oh, you can't get one? So your entire challenge based on elevation angles requires a flat earth? What, and you think it's somehow a globe proof, you bunch of numpties? Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Speaking of angles and elevation angles and using celestial objects.
No, it's purely optical. We only have angles and, well, apparent angular sizes. Visually, that's it.
Apparent angular sizes. No, we've just got angular sizes. That's redundant.
Yeah, it is redundant, but I wanted to extra emphasize that it is really in the field of optics only that we even have the phenomenon. And yeah, there is no indication that it is actually in a literal Euclidean position, an object or something emanating light from that actual position.
And it's funny.
But that wasn't the question. The question is, do you know the distance? No.
Well, without it being physical in a Euclidean position, then you can't really have a distance now, can you?
That's not the only way you can go on that. Now, we know that they state that it's infinite distance away on this imaginary celestial sphere, and those are the stars, and somewhere in between that and us on their globe model is the sun, 93 million miles. How'd they get that distance?
No distance to the sun.
That, yeah, during Sorry, go ahead.
The Selenium.
Yeah, Selenium. Thanks, Nathan. Yeah. During that, they'll say that the sun is refracted above the horizon during that as well.
Well, This reminds me of the interview with Robin Poe when she talked about getting a connection out in Italy, in Ferrari. And she's in the mountains. She's supposed to be linking up these relays at a distance of, say, 20k apart for these radio transmissions. And she can't get a signal because there's a load of crap in the way. So she points the antenna back at the source. It's 115 miles away. And she instantly gets a perfect signal. Many years later, she realises that that's an absolute stone-cold flat Earth proof. Couldn't have worked on a sphere. Won't work on a sphere. Had to be flat in order to work. And it then made her realise why all of the superiors suddenly came and told her to take it down, even though it solved a massive problem with the relays not being able to connect because there was bloody mountains and trees in the way. Mountains and trees stopping a 20-mile or 20-kilometre relay from working. I should stop mixing up these distance definers. Anyway, the 115 odd miles away, yeah, that works perfectly because it's got a direct line of sight. No trees, no mountains, no nothing in the way, just a direct line of sight back to the source. No relay needed. She was told to take it down. Now, she explained that story. She just chuckled. She didn't say explicitly, because the Earth is flat. If there was a geometric physical sphere edge obstruction called Earth curve getting in the way of that signal, it wouldn't have connected back to source over 100 miles away. Like with the mountain relay, there would be something in the way. A physical mountain being in the way stopped the relay working. Earth curve didn't stop the relay going back 115 miles. Earth's flat. She didn't explicitly state that. But this now, this reminds me of
it's
that.
like the microwave distance measurement record, which is 146 miles. Now, I think they got it to 162 after that, but I know they got it to 146 officially. I know that did happen. But 146 miles from, I think it was like a 200-foot high position. They got the 146 miles. The problem they have is power. Getting the signal, the power they need to send the signal further, because there's a microwave, as far as I know. And there was another one. Just one second. There was another one that was over 300 miles. But it was contested over. There was one silly little thing, but it was between these two islands. But there was another one that was over 300 miles that I read about.
Well, in the old days, they used Lorient, and the shore-based system during the day would ping off 750 miles offshore, and at night it went over 1,500 miles.
What do you think we're using now? What we use now for telecommunications is just a direct relative of Lorentz in terms of how that works. And how you're describing, well, at night when it's all clear, you get a really clear signal. What, like with your phone? Yeah, because it's the same thing. It's all ground-based.
And what about EPIRBs that they use in the oceans for when someone falls into the ocean? They have an EPIRB on their life vest, or they have them in boats and that as well. I think they're like an emergency signal they can use that. But the whole point of them is they send out a wave, but you're already in the ocean with a life vest on you. So where is this wave being sent out to? It's been picked up by ground-based antennae at a ridiculous distances.
I fell off a boat once, but I didn't actually land in the ocean. I landed on the tangent line, so it was all right.
Good to know. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core that we would stand in if we were using the equatorial plane?
Not even close.
But we stand there when we've measured our angles off a flat baseline, and then we need to use the celestial sphere model. One would, if a globe believer, assert that you're actually standing at the centre of a molten iron core, right? Right in the middle.
Yeah, that's when it backfires for them. There's no such thing. This is all made up stuff. No one's at the center of any globe taking an angle measurement. It's just being taken off the plane we live on and then reified to a center of a ball that doesn't exist.
Any
Technically,
evidence?
that's just a formality, that question, isn't it? Sorry.
That's all right. I was
It's
just
just
going to move on with
just a
questioning. Go
formality.
ahead.
Yeah. There's just that question about the molten iron core. It's just a formality. That's the only reason that that's asked. Nobody ever claims it. Nobody comes in to argue it. Because how can you? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, this is the big lie. They use light coming in straight, and so then they could put one there. They could put one on the tangent plane on the surface of their dingleberry, and then they could put one with a fictitious horizontal over there in the plane with a bubble section, and have 3 lines and say, hey, they're corresponding to the same angle. Where did you derive the angle from in the first place? I mean, they're saying it's on the curved surface where you can't get an angle from that. So just because you do 3 lines, they're all parallel to one another, and saying, see, it all works.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope. But the universe might be spinning around the Earth.
What? Universe? What do you mean by universe? You mean the stars appear to move around us?
Yes,
from our
and
position,
whatever
it
we
seems
think they might
geocentric.
be. It all depends on what you think the stars are.
Why did you just sound like Jim Kirk, Nathan?
Say again?
I said, why did you sound like James T. Kirk?
Because I was waiting for Arwen to interrupt. Which he did. So yeah, we're geocentric, but that's an apparent movement of the stars that you're talking about. Your answer is to say, well, it depends what you think the stars are. Okay, not really.
Exactly.
In my mind's eye, it might be a one way or another, but that doesn't affect what we actually perceive of the stars. And I've got no idea, and neither of you, what they are.
Right, but the main point is that we wouldn't expect to see any kind of motion here on Earth. Even though it's claimed that the Earth is the thing that's spinning. But I disagree with that.
Oh, I mean, you would see various motions that they claim we would see, but we don't. And you'd feel things that we'd feel that we should, and we don't. But it doesn't alter that we don't know what the stars are.
Right, so what the real task is to take a spaceship, go outside of the atmosphere, hang there, and then see if it is indeed the galaxy that is spinning around the Earth. And that you would naturally remain geostationary in relation to the presupposed spinning Earth, or that you would be caught up in the stationary reference frame of the galaxy, and that it was indeed the Earth is spinning, and then we got something really weird going on, because then the Earth is spinning without any Coriolis deviation.
Yeah, but your conception started with begging the question, atmospheric pressure that we can leave to look back in. Well, is there any evidence that you can have gas pressure, atmospheric, that sphere-shaped air, without a container?
Can't have sphere-shaped air. Let me try that again. You can't have sphere-shaped air. Gases have no shape.
They take the shape of their container, so you can have a sphere-shaped container and put air in it. But sphere-shaped air is an oxymoron.
Well, what about Jupiter?
They're not taking it.
So does this depend what we think the lights are? What about Jupiter? Okay, a light in the sky. What about it?
Isn't it a giant gas ball?
No. I have no idea what it is. It might be. It seems unlikely, given the laws that we abide by here on Earth, that somehow it's beyond those laws. Now, we don't know if it is or isn't beyond those laws. We just know what our laws here on Earth are. But to imply, when we don't know either way, that it somehow violates the second law of thermodynamics and is a ball of gas not expanding into the area of volume it has to fill is absolutely absurd. I wouldn't go to that sort of wishful thinking when I don't know either way.
Okay, so are you saying then that the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to The galaxy?
No, I'm saying the second law of thermodynamics applies because it's a law of nature. And if you decide that a light in the sky behaves in a certain way, and that way happens to violate the second law of thermodynamics, I'll just say that's a second law of thermodynamics violation. Your appeal to, well, it's different out in space, oh, well, have you looked?
Well, you said distinctly that it might be, so I was just going with that.
No, that's not what I said. I said
Yeah,
I
you
don't
did.
know.
It's recorded.
So I didn't. I said I don't know that it isn't that, which means
well, that's same.
Your appeal. Yeah, but there's a million things it could be, right? And
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
you
that
said
they're
it
not any of them. But my point is that by not knowing that it isn't something, I'm not going to use an argument from silence fallacy or an argument from ignorance fallacy, rather, to appeal to something that we don't know either way. But it's even worse to appeal to something that violates the laws that we do know and understand, which is what your description of Jupiter as a gas ball in a vacuum would be.
Yeah, but not if the second law of thermodynamics simply doesn't apply to anything outside of the Earth.
The law of nature, therefore, if we're going to claim that it's part of our nature, it's a law that it would apply to. Now, you're appealing to, I don't know what it could be, therefore I'm going to assert that it's a violation of the laws we do know. Is ludicrous. I know it's the heliocentric claim, by the way, Arwin. Just thanks for playing along.
No problem.
Yeah,
I could add to
but the
that.
only way to fix it is to just make it very convoluted until all you remember is just the baseline of what you got at first hand that didn't actually make any sense, but it's very exciting.
Owen said it's recorded.
Yeah, no,
Here,
that was
it
class. That was a very good move.
If I may, it is recorded. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. They're just lights.
Excellent.
It would have been a better time to have I hate soundboards and sound effects and such, but if I'd have had an echo button then, just to put a bit more God in your voice, that would have been brilliant.
Yeah, it would have sounded really good. Like a Charlton Heston.
I
Yes.
just want to state that Arwen won that little debate with Nathan there.
No, he did
As
not.
Arwen said, he did, because Arwen said, and no one caught him on it, and I couldn't answer at the time, but I would have only been interrupting anyway. Arwen said, he said, are you claiming that the laws of thermodynamics don't apply to the galaxy? What's that?
That's what I asked
What
him. That was my
galaxy? What's the
first question to him. The first thing I asked him was, what are you calling a galaxy? That was my first question.
Yes.
Did you ask him that straight after that?
That was my first question.
Yeah, but
Well,
then I moved
apologize,
away.
I'm wrong.
How dare you
No,
say he
excuse-
won? No way. I won't stand by that.
Excuse Brian, he just spaced out for a second.
Shit. That's a special pleading fallacy, by the way.
Special pleading. Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue.
I had a
The thing is,
universal pun.
Arwen moved away real quick after that.
What did I churn through? Argument from ignorance and argument from silence? No. Special pleading. Exactly. Right. Yeah, because we don't know, it's going to have this nonsense waffle that I'm going to assign to it because we don't know. Special pleading fallacy.
It's one of the favorites.
No. The special pleading fallacy was when he said that the second law only applies to the earth.
I didn't literally say that, though, to be fair. I said that it wouldn't apply to anything outside of the earth.
Special pleading fallacy.
Well, I want to know why
Right,
when
but
you
we
use
have,
that.
to be fair, we only have really tested the second law of thermodynamics here on Earth.
Same special,
To be
same
fair.
exact special pleading fallacy then.
I just want to know why using that particular fallacy, you end up with a waffle.
Nonsense waffle. just so we're back on track, right? The nonsense waffle is more important than the fallacy in this instance. The nonsense waffle is to assert the lights you observe in the sky that are different colours are actually burning balls of gas or accumulations of gas existing in a vacuum. It's nonsense. Gases do not behave like that. Now, the reason they behave like that, according to their model, is because of gravitational accretion in a fourth-dimensional pseudo-reality that we don't exist in. That's why it does it in their globe-Earth reality. We don't exist in pseudo-Ramonian 4 space-time, though, do we? We don't have a fourth dimension.
Yeah, but
how do we know it don't happen in space?
Because space
that
isn't
was
real.
a good question.
Space isn't real. Space is fake. Outer space, the area that they're claiming these lights reside in, is an area claimed to be a vacuum. No, that's fake. Violation of natural law.
But to be fair, you know, there have been very little tests really on gas behavior in outer space entirely.
In outer
Most
space,
of what we get to see is
begging
the
the question
fictional
fallacy.
interpretation of what they think it might be. But in reality, there have been very little testing on how gas even really behaves in outer space.
Right, it's the same
You're
special.
going to get jumped on in a minute.
Same exact special pleading fallacy and a begging the question fallacy thrown in for good measure. Right, okay. Third
Why
time's a
don't you
charm.
volunteer to go out into space, Arwen, and test it for us?
He can't go to Narnia.
Well, the problem is we can't really get there. We used to have the technology, but then, yeah, we lost it, and it's too painful to put it back together again. And maybe if we put it back together again after all these expenses, then we could test the gas behavior in outer space. Finally.
Meanwhile, you can get a ticket. You can get a ticket to
acceptance of space existing with this conversation continuing.
Yeah, I just tried to get that in there.
Space
To begging the
is
question, he's forcing us to beg the question with him. Right, it's a begging the question fallacy and a special pleading fallacy.
Also, gravitational accretion speaks directly to gravitational forces, not pseudo-Ramonian force space, by the way.
Yeah, but it's
gravitational.
allowed in
Hold on, I thought
forces,
gravitational accretion
so.
was Einsteinian as opposed to Newtonian.
No, it's not.
Oh, right.
Nope.
My bad.
As soon as it comes to real mechanics of the galaxy, they use Newtonian because Einstein it doesn't actually work.
Hold on then. In Einsteinian bendings for space-time, when they talk about geodesics in space-time, what are they describing in terms of what I've labelled incorrectly as gravitational accretion? How does stuff form? If that's not speaking to... Go on.
Yeah. No, I see gravitational accretion is claimed to be prior to Einstein.
I'll get
Regardless of when it's
That's not my question. Okay, before you rub in how stupid I've been. Hold on, Brian. Hold on. I'm asking, in Einsteinian pseudo-Ramonian for space-time bending, right, the effect they describe with the geodesic bending of space-time, how does that do the job of gravitational accretion? How does Einstein explain how planets are formed if it's a Newtonian, and I'll put my hand up and say I had this incorrect, I'd sandwich the two together like a baller does, an anti-flat earther does, right? My bad. Anti-flat earthers will sandwich the two together. I've done it, but I want to know how it actually works. How does Einstein in bending geodesics give you the moon after an impact from Theia, as that explained?
It doesn't. And they haven't.
The mass has to already be there for it to bend the space-time.
Right. Einstein mathematics can only be applied
Oh my God.
I'm trying to tell.
Brian,
the mass has to already be there for the bending of the space-time. So the creation of the mass had to happen through gravitational forces, which is a complete contradiction to general relativity.
Exactly.
But they need both. So they had to do a switcheroo in 1915.
Well, what they do is first they apply a template, a Newtonian mechanical template for all the bodies and the supposed forces, which they still will be. And then afterward, they can apply Einstein mathematical trickery. They can bend it a little, right? That's how they did it with Mercury in our solar system, because it wouldn't fit in the Newtonian model. It would fall into the sun very quickly. So they had to kind of like put a little Einsteinian paint on that Newtonian template. So that's how I see it. That's how they apply it every time. It's always secondary Einsteinian stuff.
So it literally runs as deep as it has no explanation for it. What's the point of it? What is the point of Einstein? I'm a bit of a lost word here. So what does it do
It's
exactly?
like a painting. It's like a painting, a model mathematical painting that they make. They use the Newtonian template because that's the only thing that can actually account for multiple bodies of attraction. And then they can supposedly perfect it, chisel the fine details with Einsteinian mechanics if they feel they need to. This is just
Nathan, you've
artistry.
Let me. They need both. So they needed gravitational accretion, which would be a force of gravity, a force of attraction. They needed that to create the masses that then curve space-time within general relativity. But they got to a point where with what they were calling Newtonian, where they couldn't go any further. And to expand their universe and expand their science fiction story, they needed something, and they were about to implode. Einstein came along. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough for them, and they expanded their story and while completely contradicting their story, their prior story.
They got more creative options thanks to Einsteinian mechanics, but it also became more unprovable and more ethereal as a consequence.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of contradiction, and we don't even try to fit from a physics point of view, get into how plasma star is formed. Go on, sorry.
I've just looked up a quick cursory.
Nathan,
just going to do the wiki crawl, Jeranism style. If a planet bends space-time inwards at the surface, right? Planets per se do not bend anything. It's the subatomic particles that planets' constructs form that causes the warping of space-time. And then it goes on about the problem of bending space-time and starts to talk about spaghettification, but it doesn't actually explain how it works within Einsteinian. I mean, I knew it had its faults. I knew it only worked on one mass. But I suppose it's obvious. If it only works on one mass, how can you have it explain how two masses attract to one another, as in gravitational accretion? I just didn't know it was that bad.
Well,
you can't.
Nathan,
you can only apply it afterwards.
Arwen, take a break. My gosh. You can't see I'm trying to get in.
Sorry.
Thank you. You've explained this already without knowing it, Nathan. You've said they ran into a problem with gravity. Mass attracts mass, so they had to make up something else. So they made it into another dimension to cover up for the lack of evidence for gravity. Now, all the other things are going to contradict, of course, but why do they have to go there? Because gravity was having a problem. Mass doesn't attract mass.
Yeah, and don't forget the circular reasoning. Sorry. Someone else was saying something there?
Go ahead, whoever it was, Duncan.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying pseudo-Riemannian force space is obviously just a trampoline, so what's the problem?
Well, it's not. That's an incorrect. That a trampoline is a false equivalency of what Einstein described. So when people see that, that's a hoodwink. That's a completely false equivalency of what space-time is claimed to be and how special and general relativity work. Because
it's still Newtonian.
Yeah, because that would involve everything falling towards the center, not orbiting. It's a different thing. The orbiting is based on the bending of the geodesic.
Right, and even when they do an orbiting trick, right, where they try to throw a ball that spins around, they still say, yeah, but in reality, it finds an equilibrium and then keeps spinning around it because there's no friction because of the vacuum or blah, 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 something, right? But they can't actually demonstrate because in reality, of course, when they do the trampoline trick, any orbiting ball is very quickly going to actually hit the central weight. So, but that's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. But worse again is the circular reasoning when it comes to dark matter, as they require dark matter for general relativity to continue because they are claiming to see movements in the sky that is not explained via what they're calling gravity these days, which is general relativity. So they had to create dark matter to add matter into places that they can't detect it, because dark matter can't be detected because it doesn't absorb, emit, or reflect any electromagnetic light or anything. It doesn't, like, there's no absorption emission rate or
electromagnetic
or
light. What the
reflection.
hell is electromagnetic light?
Sorry, yeah, light. Just say light. Just say light. Right. So, right. Yeah. Okay. I got it wrong. But the point is that they needed dark matter to exist for their current story to keep going, right? But how they validate dark matter is gravitational effects. That right? But those gravitational effects, they needed dark matter for that part of the story to keep going. So it's a completely circular position. So dark matter is validated by gravitational effects. Gravitational effects are validated by dark matter, right? So none of them are validated, if you understand, even within heliocentrism.
Yeah, that's a good point. Effectively, dark matter was conjured up to balance the equation. Literally, it was conjured for mathematical purposes to balance out why the galaxy would supposedly stick together, even though it had all that room to expand into. So they still kind of had like a second law of thermodynamics trace in their mind when they were conjuring this. But they figured out that mathematically it's just not fitting. They have to create this counter force. And that became dark matter, but it was born purely mathematically.
Really, mathematical. Let's see the equation.
You want to hear more?
I want to see that first equation that was unbalanced.
I do not know it personally. That's the story that they told me.
Who are they?
My teacher in school that was aware that it is mathematical. He was actually aware, potentially, that it's not real. But that's how it worked.
Gonna need a name.
I don't remember, and even if I did, I'm not gonna tell you the name of my teachers.
Well, all that's friggin' horse pucky then.
Nathan, did you have a saying about dark matter?
I don't think so. That's what dark matter is. It was to balance the equation. Because the forces of gravity, Newtonian gravity.
All right, I want to see the equation. You keep on saying equation.
I have never seen an equation. I've only been told this story by multiple people.
Now it's multiple people. So you got the teacher. Who else?
Nathan, didn't you have a saying about
white lies on a live show?
I'm sorry.
Calling you out as a little white liar, saying you just made this shit up.
No, I did not make this shit up, and I'm not going to reveal my sources of my youth. Thanks.
Arwen, are you maybe mixing up a little bit dark matter with dark energy? That's a different description. Dark energy.
I might be. I barely know the difference between the two. So this is all just conceptual mumbo jumbo, really, to me. This is the story that I absorbed about it. It was conjured up to balance the equation with gravity.
Here we go again.
Otherwise, the galaxy would explode, basically.
Here we go again. I want to see that equation.
I've never seen the equation.
Well, look, dark energy is claimed to be equal throughout the whole of the heliocentric universe, as it's spread evenly throughout it, and it is basically the cause of the heliocentric universe constantly expanding, and it works in opposition to gravity. Now, how can you work in opposition to something that is not a force and only an apparent effect? So there is another contradiction from their side. How can you be working in opposition to something that's a non-force, a pseudo-force, an apparent effect? And now, obviously, the bigger question is, what's it expanding into? And according to Sabine Hossenfelder, the universe is expanding into itself.
Brilliant.
Right, there you go.
Bring me my Hassenpfeffer.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
QE
Yes,
with no.
dark matter needs to be there, or otherwise the gravity of the universe would make it explode.
That viable hypothesis.
Hassenpfeffer.
Is it viable? Well, you're alive, aren't you? We're in a stable place. It's not
We
exploding,
have a
so it has
we
to
have
be
a
true.
viable Hassenpfeffer.
Well,
with it.
according to
Hassenpfeffer.
hang on, let's get to the
Come on.
let's get to the question. Is there any viable scientific hypothesis from cosmology, astronomy, or astrophysics? Right. According to a PhD astronomer, whose performance is being assessed at present by QE, he has looked through telescopes and been able to determine the actual size and temperature of celestial bodies.
How? How did he
What?
do that?
Really? Actual
Now that
size.
is obviously past hypotheses because that's what he's aiming to be an actual scientific experiment. But
He'll need R
that's
for
what
that.
he's.
He'll need R. Any evidence of the R value?
Yeah, there's flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. That's not much evidence for an R value.
That's not. Yeah, I was going to say that may be
Don't we
what
have
they've used to
pictures?
derive their R value from. That's correct. That isn't evidence of an R value, though, is it?
Don't we have pictures
No.
from Michael Collins?
What about him? Great painter.
Well, he did the painting. He did the painting with an R value. Isn't that suffice?
I just want to hang on. I want to critique something there. We suppose that he did the painting. We don't know, but we do know he was a photorealism painter, and he
Well, what
specialized in
Yeah, we know he
photorealism
did it.
paintings.
We
of-
know he did it. What do you mean we don't know he did it? We've seen
you
footage of him
can't
doing
speak
photos
to
just
positive
like
claim.
this.
You can just speculate that it was probably him.
I can
Can I go
speculate
on?
with a high degree of probability that a man who created almost identical imagery to this created this imagery, given that he was paid by NASA and was claimed to go out to a sky vacuum to photograph this image. Now, I know he didn't do that, but I also know he's a photorealist painter. So I'm going to say with a fair degree of certainty that he did paint this on account of the fact that's what he does. What he doesn't do is go out and take pictures from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. So given that he doesn't travel to space and we've got images of him actually painting stuff, I'm going to say he painted this.
Well, this all has to do with Earth curve anyway. And from what the guy told me yesterday, as I was talking to him, as we're looking over the skyline and tried to explain some things to him, he said, dude, the reason why you can't see the buildings behind these buildings is because of Earth curve. So everybody still thinks Earth curve is a reality.
Covered that on the other show, live show, but I may as well just cover all of them in this one. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth? Black Swan.
There's only a claim of refracted horizon that would absolutely ruin all 1.1508 conversions between nautical and statute miles.
Did you hear that, Neil?
I know.
The
but
guy
how
just
do
said
we
he's
get it
blocked.
through to them.
He's saying they've got boats and buildings blocked, a la this image on screen. Well, refracted curvature, namesake of one of the panel members, is that because if the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, every distance to this horizon blocking this boat could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as asserted in the claim. And we've got imagery beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959.
Oh dear.
You only need one. Black Swan. Once you've shown that it's not a physical hill getting in the way of boats and buildings, it doesn't suddenly magically become a geometric obstruction the following day. Likewise, if you show someone a black swan when they're claiming there isn't any, you're not going to have a multitude of white swans shown to you in the preceding days. Because who cares? Up until the point that you've got a black swan presented, your claim might make sense. But once you show there is a black swan in existence, then that's it. It's game over.
They say
Horizon's
it's an
not Earth curve.
anomaly.
But on a really clear day, and when there's no refraction, that means there's extreme refraction.
See, that's a convoluted bait and switch attempt, because When you say that in a globe Earth context, you're talking about terrestrial refraction, otherwise known as atmospheric refraction. Well, that refraction isn't anything to do with refraction. It's 7/6 of the radius value. This question started... No, it didn't. It was an Earth-Kerr question. The former question was about the radius value. Well, if you're going to assert refraction, then you need to have an R value to claim your refraction, because it's refraction in name only. 7/6 of a radius needs a radius value. Where are you getting it from? Oh, a tangent point to a geometric sphere edge? The one you're claiming is refracted? That's a paradox. Here it is,
But
marked
it's
with an X,
extreme.
labelled horizon. That point is where they say the boat was getting blocked by. Do you see the straight line to it? Watch how that line gets bent by Andrew Thomas Young to give these Muppets the McGurk refraction parrot that they've been putting at us for the last 2 to 3 years. Why? Well, because the geometry, marked O to G, gives them R, G to C. That's how they measure it. That's Al-Biruni's method of dip angle, after measuring H, which would be his height from a flat plane derivation. But this H, marked, is not conducive with this C that has a straight line to it. You can't bend your own geometry. That's where it snaps. Because you need a tangent. Don't you, Ruhif? Apparently he's become one of my channel members. Wow. Absurd type of pain relief you're looking for, my friend. You need a tangent point marked here by Al-Biruni at C. Refraction! That's where your model died. On its arse. Because you need to assert your geometry. It's the same geometry Ruhif, my newest member, asserted was blocking boats and buildings. Isle of Man. That's Isle of Man, not I love man. Although I do. Man is wonderful.
Man, what are you talking about? Listen, Andrew Thomas Young said he has to have a geometric consideration. So he bent it in order to make it fit a globe. But he never achieved it from that because he admits all his calculations for refraction came off of a plane.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yes, it would have to be there.
What?
No, it
The
would
apple
have
fell
to
off
be
the
there.
tree.
Newtonian gravity keeps the solar system together with a little sprinkle of Einsteinian gravity to keep Mercury in its place.
Gravity's not a force. Doesn't do or keep anything anywhere. What was it you said one deck? Apples, something. Newtonian apples or something you said.
Yeah. That's the natural phenomenon. Observing an apple fall off a tree. So the Earth must be spherical with a force pulling everything in, obviously.
That's
And what is
non-sequitur. Hold on.
Mercury anyway?
Not enough meat on that bone. That's non-sequitur.
key.
Hold on. That's non-sequitur. If you just say apple falls from tree, therefore Earth's a sphere, with a force that pulls stuff to the middle, I don't have enough meat on that bone to make it anything other than a non-sequitur fallacy. An apple falling doesn't tell me Earth's a sphere.
Well, that's out of date anyway. That's Newtonian, or claimed to be Newtonian. That's
He didn't mention anything
Einstein's
about
equivalence principle.
He didn't say anything about Newton. He just said an apple falling tells me it's a sphere. That's all he said.
But he said a force pulls it down. That's not current. Current is Einstein's equivalence principle.
Fair enough. That's
which is-
107 years out of date, Brian saying.
And I'm asking Arwen what Mercury is.
Liquid metal stuff that tells you how hot it is if you put it in a tube. Calibrate it.
But I'd just like to say, thank God for gravity, or we'd all be dead.
Why
This
would we be
started
dead?
out with Newton.
What?
Let's
Because
hear
we
what
fly
he said.
into
Go on one day.
Mass attracts mass. That's why things fall. It's what keeps the ocean stuck to the ball. Thank God for gravity, or we'd all be dead. Now here's Einstein's new gravity, because Newton's is dead. So let's hear what scientific Einstein said. Gravity is no longer a force. And wait for it, this only gets worse. Gravity is a concept of bending space-time. It's a dimension. Why would I lie? See it or test it to prove that it's there. It's an imaginary concept, to be fair. Description of gravity number 2. And if humanity keeps on waking, this is what they'll do. They'll invent a new gravity and call it number 3. The globe spinning, you see. But in the meantime, remember what they said. Gravity, or we'd all be dead.
Perfect. That was excellent.
Excellent.
Very good. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell for the second time. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
They're supposedly further away from the globe, from the surface, further away from the strongest pull of gravity. This is what they were expecting. But the object weighed more, and they were scratching their heads. So then what did they do? They did a cheat. They went into the cafe there, which has warm circulating air in it, because it has to have for all the people who are cold up at the top of the mountain. And they even did this in the winter months or whatever, the colder months. And they went in there, right? And after being in there a few minutes after getting coffee and that, they then weighed it in there, and it weighed less because there was warm circulating air, giving it a certain buoyant or lift effect. So they debunked. They did do this, and they debunked it, but themselves. And then that's the cheat within their video.
All right, I got that. So you're saying that it's an impossibility for gas molecules to operate differently up in, where the stars are than it is here on Earth.
What? Gas behaves like gas. It's special pleading. We covered this in the show, didn't we? Am I having a flashback here?
Yeah, I know, but you can't say that if nobody ever did it up there.
That's a special pleading fallacy.
Well, until you deal with that special pleading fallacy.
Up where though?
It's a pretty good special pleading fallacy. It's a pretty good special.
3 people talking at once. All I heard that was relevant in that convoluted was up where. That's what I heard that came through that was relevant.
Where the stars are, I said it.
Yeah?
The
okay.
moon, the
Where's
sun,
that? Okay, so in the sky. No, I'm pretty sure gas behaves exactly the same in the sky.
How do you know there's gas up there?
Come on, Adam.
I know there's gas. Do you want to know why? I know there's gas up there.
Yeah.
I know there's gas up there because that's how gas behaves.
No. Not up there on your way up to the stars. He said where the stars are. Now, in Neil's world, that would be in a firmament. Is there gas in the firmament? I don't know. That's a leap too far. I know there's gas. There has to be gas all the way up to the containment. But after that, I have no idea.
Turtles all the way down.
Hey, Brian, is there a coffee shop up there they can go in and test? Or?
Cafe Ole Galaxeo.
Well, that's a good thing Brian shared there, because that shows you what's happening. It shows you how the concept of weight and how scales work can be affected by air pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And like you don't even. That's just something extra I have in the back, in the background as I need it. I can pull it out. But all anyone needs to know and Google is, do objects weigh more in a vacuum? And the answer is yes. But for the claim of a force of gravity, because these people can't let it go that it's even their own side officially this threw that out the window in 1915. But for that claim to be in any way validated, then objects have to weigh less in a vacuum, because their whole explanation for how we have a gas pressure gradient is a force of gravity, which means there has to be a downward vector bias that would add weight to an object. So when that downward vector bias is taken away, then that object has to weigh less, which would be in a vacuum, but it doesn't. Objects weigh more in a vacuum because air is a medium, and mediums have a certain amount of buoyancy or left to them, don't they?
Heavy shit, this, mate.
Like all we're really speaking about is physics, isn't it? Let's be honest. Physics and geometry, that's really all we speak about. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're not making stuff up. We're just speaking about factual stuff as much as we can. If we can't prove it to be a fact, we're not going to claim it.
Brian, do you know the numbers? Because in my mind, as you're sharing this story, if they're outside but go into a coffee shop and stay a while and warm up, the amount of registered numbers of the difference, it's got to be minute anyway.
Yeah, it's only a small difference, but the problem is when they go up to the lower pressure is higher in the mountain, and there's also, you have to remember, up there's lower pressures, but there's also colder air, right? And there was colder air outside when they did it at the base of the mountain. Now colder air is more dense, so more dense, and it tends to flow downward more. Let's say it tends to within convection. It's the colder air is displacing the warmer air, blah blah blah. But the thing about it is the difference wasn't that much, but it was enough for it to be outside at the base camp. When they got off of the train up high, the object weighed less. They went into where there was war, because in there it's a cafe. It's not a huge area, smaller area. So there's a higher PSI in there, and there's heating in there, heating the air. So there's warm circulating air in there. So that was enough for them to state then that the object weighed less. But they used the same weighing scales, yet for all 3 times, yet when they got off the train and weighed it and it weighed more, they said there must be something wrong. It must be the wind or something, they were saying. Yet the wind wasn't a problem for them when they were outside lower down, where there would be more wind most of the time, because you get more weather and more winds close to the Earth's surface than you do up at higher elevations. It's just because most of the weather is down low. Most weather is down low. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they had to cheat. They had to go into the cafe where there was warm circulating air, where there was a slightly higher PSI value, and they weighed it there, and they got a slightly lower. It weighed slightly less than it did at the base camp, or at the base of where they first got on the train, and that they went and claimed, gravity proven. If gravity was proven, how come outside the cafe it weighs more?
Well, this is the problem. Mass doesn't attract mass, and they're looking for some differential in the measurement from the story you told. And the minute they saw just a little bit of differential, that's it, that's gravity, because they already come in with that bias. They assume it to exist, like people assume the sphere to exist. And so based on that, they start making up all the maths to support it. So it only exists in the maths, and it's a thought experiment at the end of the day.
Well, it's a bit like the spider ballooning claim from our opposition, our other opposition, right? That was what they needed to support a biased view, right? It was like a comfort blanket. But as I showed, that is also caused by relative density because it involves convection currents. That's how the spoilers do what they do. But they didn't take that far because they didn't want to. They just saw what they needed to see to make a comfort blanket out of it, and they went with that. That's no different than what they were doing on the mountain with the object on the weight scales.
Yeah, it could be applied to a lot of things. You're right.
Yeah, well, the truth is not nice a lot of the time. So if you want the truth to be something and it turns out not to be that thing, it's hard to take. Sometimes it makes you feel sick. You know, the truth is horrible sometimes. The truth often is more not nice than nice. But it is, we're dealing with the truth here as much as we can, aren't we? Physics and geometry. So we got to be honest. But the problem is people are not being honest with themselves. So both our oppositions, or flat out oppositions, who shouldn't be our oppositions, are wrong because they're looking for a bias. And our actual original opposition, which are the heliocentrists, the ballers, they're also looking for a bias. So
I
just accepting
was,
what
Brian.
is. Sorry, Neil?
When my brother first told me about it. I was looking for proof of sphere Earth. I wanted it. I looked all over, could not find it.
You know, Neil, I think I was very lucky in that way. I think I was very lucky. Sorry, Nathan. You want to
You
say
only
I
have
was
to
going to say
climb
they
a
all
tree,
do.
Neil.
They all do. I was muttering to myself. They're all looking for confirmation bias. They're all looking for pain relief. There's a reason we say share your pain.
Yeah, I was that, but I berated my brother for like 2 to 3 weeks. What about NASA? What about this? What about satellites? What about GPS? Hitting them with everything. And as I looked things up one by one, they were coming up rather short.
something that really helped me. When I say that I switched within 8 seconds, I'm not lying about that. That's exactly how it happened. I remember looking at it. It was 0.08, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 8 seconds. Watching one of Eric DeBay's original videos that I think are gone now because YouTube took his channel away at the time. Right? One of his videos, he's speaking about the horizon mainly. And why did I change so fast? Is that I have this thing when people start telling me things that just don't make any sense and are not making any impact on me, I just naturally, it's like as if I have these steel girders come down over my brain and I just don't take it in. And I sit there and I'm staring at someone and they're telling me a load of nonsense and I just go, all right, yeah, right. And I go off and I have no idea what they're after saying to me. I have the gist of it, but it doesn't matter. It's such a load of nothing that it doesn't, why should I bring it in? So I always had this thing and I always hated school. I avoided school, didn't want to be in there. I was only forced to be in there until I reached 15 because it was a legal thing. I was forced to be there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been there. I would have left years beforehand. I did my best while I was in school as a young child to do my best to get sick or come up with any reason not to be there. And I did. I spent more time hanging around in the city dump with my father and going around doing stuff with him and do my best not to be in there as much as possible. So that's why it was easy for me, even someone from Ireland who had the same type of, where our education system wouldn't have maybe as being the same as in Britain or the US or whatever, or Australia, whatever, where they'd be teaching more heliocentric stuff. Even at that's why when it got to that 8 second mark, I was able to just switch straight away and start laughing. That's the only reason I could do it. Because if I had been involved in that amount of indoctrination, there's no way I would have been able to switch, I don't think, that fast. So it was because I didn't go to school and because I avoided it and because when they were trying to teach me stuff in school, they couldn't stop me looking out the window at the birds and whatever else that was going on out in nature. That's the only reason I was able to do it. If I had paid attention in school, it would have been a harder transition.
Welcome to Flat Earth, Brian.
Thank you, Windek.
It's mad though, isn't it? I sometimes think this must be some sort of bloody test, you know. I mean, the narrative of the heliocentric model is so ridiculous once you realise it's not true. I think if you've come out of that thinking and you've found the truth, It's some sort of test. It's got to be some sort of test to pass because it's fucking ridiculous.
Well, one day I once described it as, although I use a biblical reference, although it's not strictly biblical, but I use it, but it's seen as a biblical reference, and I don't read the Bible, but it's easily understood that this is the morning of Judgment Day. That's what we're in. This is the morning of of Judgment Day. We haven't reached Judgment Day yet, but we're in the morning, where those who know, and those who accept, and those who don't, well, you're given a certain amount of time, and when we go from morning to day, that's when things are going to get maybe tricky. Whatever that will be, I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to be what they say in the Bible. I don't know what it's going to be, but that's when things will get tricky, I think. But anyone's welcome to attack me on that.
There's another saying: those who have eyes will see, and those who have ears will hear. So when we live in the construct, and you could spot the lies, say, through the media on many subjects. The flat earther, baller, it doesn't matter. They both could agree they're being lied to by their governments. And then that moves on to another area of life that both can agree they're being lied to. So people will agree because their eyes are open and ears are open to hear on certain things. When it comes to this one, it is the granddaddy of them all. Because if you can have the eyes to see and the ears to hear about flat earth and this deception, this one opens it up to the creator. And they don't want the creator. The powers to be, the people who run the matrix, the news media is all in cahoots, the NASA and space agencies of all the countries are all in cahoots, so yet those countries are at war with each other over oil. You give me a break. You haven't broken the Antarctica Treaty, but you're fighting over oil and land elsewhere. So they know they're hiding it because they'll take the power from them away, because everyone would want their God-given rights given by the creator. So this is the biggie, it's the granddaddy, and it makes people really say, oh my gosh, I have been lied to on so many things. I have to be careful about what I say and what I believe. I need facts and proof, and they don't want you going there. And so this is why I see a lot of hesitation with people on the flat earth. They'll believe all the other things, have eyes open for that and ears, but when it comes to this one, immediately there's an extra element of hesitation for some reason. I have my ideas of what it is, but this is the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at it like this, the way your biggest weakness is the one thing that you don't want your enemies to know, or even people that aren't your enemies. That's the one thing everyone hides. I mean, I would always care a lot for animals, all creatures, but I have to hide that out in the world because there's people out in the world that see that as a weakness. So I hide it up to a point. Things like that. So you're always going to hide your biggest weakness. And their biggest weakness is this. So they do their best to kind of subtly subdue it, right? And focus on different things that, like health issue or health pandemics or whatever, wars, space aliens, whatever they need to focus on. They won't make a point of showing their focus on this, because then you will know that's their biggest weakness. It's like you don't want to let someone know that you love them because you don't want, or that you whatever, because you don't want to really put down your guard, because that's your biggest weakness. This kind of a thing when people do that. So it's like this is their biggest weakness, but they can't let on that it's their biggest weakness. They just have to kind of pretend that's only nonsense. But in reality, this is the foundation of their life.
Well,
I know what you mean, but sorry, Seb.
Oh, go ahead.
I know exactly what you're saying, and we say they know that. Who are they? Because I used to think, oh well, the governments must know, and Obama's and your presidents and all this, but do they actually know? They haven't snapped out of this trick yet. They haven't got through it. They seriously do think they live on a globe on a spinning ball. I'm sort of thinking now, that's how it's been constructed. And when you get out of this brainwashed heliocentric teaching, you've found the truth. That's the test. And I used to think, oh, they know, but I don't know now who they are. They must be above the governments and things like that. And seriously, you know, your Boris Johnsons and your presidents and your people in power, I'm thinking they actually believe that they're on a ball. Probably they're convinced of it because they've not got to that point yet where it seems ridiculous because they've not woke up.
It's not important who they are. When I say they, I'm not thinking specifically of one person, but the narrative is the they to me. And so obviously, if I was running a space agency myself, I'd have cameras on the moon. I'd be showing this. All doubt would be removed. There'd be none of this CGI. I mean, so many of the things that they're doing to pretend it's real would all be done away if it was real. And we wouldn't exist because we can validate everything. We wouldn't have a black swan argument because R would be no further than 1.22 miles based on the observer's height. And so because none of that exists, they have to fake it. So they have this whole apparatus in all the major countries of a space agency. So obviously not everybody at NASA knows what's going on. I mean, they compartmentalize and all that. We heard that before. But surely, as Nathan says, the astronauts who are filming in the studio know they're not in space. So they're all liars. So they can fall into a small group. But it doesn't matter who they are. The key is to have sound logic and test things.
We don't know their personal circumstances, so, you know, what we know is they had to lie to their children, like barefaced lie about what they were doing for a job. And by the looks of what we can read between the lines on their faces and the wrinkles thereof, we can say that some of them may have carried a very heavy burden for doing so. May have been led and deceived into thinking they were going to go to space, and then found out that they weren't going to be going to space. But it doesn't alter that they're faking it. Now, maybe the first lot knew that they were going to space and then were told that they weren't. But Tim Peake, for example, smug little git, he knows damn well he's faking it.
Why do you have a blue screen behind you? What do you need that for?
It's not that, it's just he knows he's not in space. We know he's not in space because space isn't real. It's like saying you're in Narnia. He knows he's not in Narnia. He knows what he does. He creates footage that goes out and is claimed to be on the space station. So he knows he's lying. Now, the people filming it that are told, oh, this is being done so that we can get the footage ready for blah, 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 they may not know. All the crew might not be on it. Tim Peake himself knows what he's filming and knows what goes out and what it's claimed to be. He is a liar. But there's very few people who can strap with that.
Nathan, don't miss my point. It's a major point. No one uses green and blue screens when they're filming where they are in reality. They use that to show you that they're somewhere in Paris, France, because they're not there, but the background shows Paris, France. What the heck? You're taking a blue screen and a green screen on the ISS? For what reason? You're on the ISS.
No, they're not. They're on a studio here on Earth.
I know that. I'm just trying to say the dead giveaway that all these astronauts are liars is the fact that you see them with these screens behind them in a violation of outer space. It's over right there. If you need more than that, the logic breaks down. So, well, maybe they need the blue screen for certain experiments up there. Like what? Oh, they can't float without it? They can't make objects float without it? No, they got gorilla costumes, they got guitars, they got little puppets that appear and disappear at a flick of a finger. And then if it's not working right, the guy's moving his hand but nothing there. You're like, what's wrong with this guy? It's so obvious.
Yeah, I wonder how many of them. I wonder how many there is. Like, I wonder how many of these people who know. I wonder if he was trying to put a number on the the liars and the people involved with a lie. I wonder how many there is who are playing this game. Like, I wonder.
I'd
My
say for
question
the
is,
amount of
I-
people who know for definite would have to be small in numbers in comparison to the population of the world. Very small.
These are secret
first thing-
society type. These are secret society type of pledges they have to give and take, and you don't get to know this unless you are one of the elite, and there's a reward for you if you play the part. If you know what I'm saying. So, don't want that crowd in my life.
Is it true that they are all astronauts are part of the 33 degree Masons?
I've no idea.
You
I
have
don't know.
some of them wearing the rings and emblems, so some are. I don't know if all are.
Well, what about this? What about if they were just telling the people that were expecting to go out into outer space, let's say on the Apollo missions, if they were telling them at the last minute, "You aren't going to go. There's another crew we've been training. You're just figureheads, public figureheads. Sorry." What about if they pull that narrative for a while? And now they have actors saying, "Yeah, we're going to go do this, that, and the other thing," but they're telling the actors, "No, we actually have real people doing it, but they're top secret. What they're finding out there is different from what we're showing to the public, blah, blah, blah." That'd be one way to keep those people ignorant. How long that would work for with those people, I don't know. But that would be one way where they're compartmentalizing things. You're just the figureheads for the public. We have actually real people really doing it, but they are being trained in wherever. You know what I mean? And they're really going to do it. It won't be but you're going to pretend that you're doing it. And maybe that's why they switched from, let's say, Air Force personnel to actors. Because it was easier. Either way, either story, actors are easier. But that could be one thing where they told Buzz and all them, "Yeah, you're going off out into outer space." And then at the last minute, they told him, "Well, actually, ye are actually not going. There's some other people going. But you're going to tell the world that it was ye."
Yeah. Well,
And you're
Buzz
going to,
Lightyear is on record saying we were just passengers. Who would talk that way?
Look, I mean, I'm just speculating. It's just like I have no idea. But I just know they didn't go any of these places because they can't.
Listen,
they can't go somewhere that doesn't exist.
When I went to Hawaii for the first time, I couldn't stop talking about the beauty. You couldn't stop me. I've gone there 7 times since. And every time I come back, I said, "Man, what a gorgeous place." I mean, and I can't stop talking about it. I love Hawaii. Then I went to Caribbean, same thing. Okay. These guys went somewhere that everyone looks at every night in the sky, and they're depressed at the news conference. They say they were just passengers. Give me a break.
So you're saying, Kent, that you would not be able to stop. You would be so excited, right?
Absolutely. I'm that way about going to Hawaii. Let alone if I went to the moon and back safely. Are you kidding me? I would have taken so many Polaroids back then and pictures, and there'd be so many pictures. If I was a space agency, there'd be cameras set up instead of some stupid reflector. They say,
"Hey, if it was today, we could do FaceTime."
Yeah, we do FaceTime. Yeah, exactly. It's nonsense. It's like going into someone's 50th wedding anniversary and no one's celebrating. There's no balloons. There's no dessert. People are just sitting there with frowning faces. You wouldn't think you were at a 50th wedding anniversary if it looked like that. You said, "What's going on here? How come no one's saying that about them except us?"
You've never been bit in the ass by a centipede, I'll tell you that much.
Well, say that again?
Unless they really...
You've never been bit in the ass by a centipede, those Hawaii storytelling days would be over.
Unless those people, hold on, unless those people at the 50th wedding anniversary were the only ones that realized and knew the truth that they had gotten a divorce.
Well, hang on. I got to answer to QE before I go because I got to go. I never go out in the woods without clothes on, so I could never be bit.
Clothes ain't gonna stop it.
I have a feeling that QE's experience of Hawaii was a bit different from yours.
You'd think.
What were you doing in Hawaii with no clothes, QE? Come on, that's a bigger
Said
story.
I didn't have any clothes on. What are you, a baller?
No, what the heck? The centipede bit you in the rear? How's that happen with what?
It
with
gets
clothes
into
on?
your pants.
Well, how did it get into your pants?
Crawled the hell up there.
How did it crawl in the first place?
With legs,
Yeah, I was going to
centipede,
say they got plenty of
hundreds
legs.
of legs.
Listen, in New York, the sanitation department have to tape the bottom of their legs because rats would run up there. So I'm sure a centipede has no problem.
Yep.
Well, obviously QE from his army days forgot the tape. Or were you wearing bell bottoms at the time?
Bell bottoms. Yeah, right.
Maybe a pair of wallabies?
Picture QE a hippie.
Wallabies in the military. Or maybe open-toed sandals.
Uh-oh.
Hawaii's gorgeous, but I wouldn't want to live there.
By the way, a pair of wellies also works.
What do you think? They issued us hip waders and shit. Well, I guess he got insulted by hip waders. He left.
I don't know what that is. I had to look up the word because wellies is new to me. I only know the Dutch word. Kaplaarzen. It's like boots, rubbery boots that go all the way. It's basically a pants boots system. It's pretty good. I mean, you can go pretty deeply into water or, yeah, without getting wet. It's awesome. Very useful for like sewer work. I'm sorry, you were talking about like rodents crawling up your 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 trouser. So that's the solution. Wellies.
Dude, I need half of that stuff down here where I'm at now. I went out shooting yesterday, going back to the spot where I was going to shoot, and big old snake come out. It was right by my foot. I couldn't believe it. Biggest garter snake I ever seen. It's like it's like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom down in my neighbor's yard. What the hell? Want to see a picture of it?
You're dating yourself with Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Yeah, I guess I am. Where'd it go? Copy. I'll put in Master B. There you go.
Ooh, that's a pretty long one.
He was pretty. There's no doubt about it. He was a beautiful snake.
A pretty big one.
Yeah,
How
that's what I thought.
Was it?
Say again?
How long was it?
I would say it was a good 3 to 4 feet long.
Right.
Did it just slide on by like or what?
Well, he stopped when I came up close. I went down to get my arrows, and then I came back up, and he was right there. I mean, there were a lot of leaves over to the left. There were a lot of leaves against the fence that I wouldn't have seen him. Look at him, right?
That's good camouflage.
Yeah, with the sun shining bright, it was very difficult. I heard him first. Yeah.
Nice looking snake though. But
yeah,
there is a snake. There is.
I'm sorry. And it's in the yard of the gentleman that got bit by the copperhead when he was playing disc golf. Remember I told you that?
I don't know, but I didn't hear that story. So he got
you
bit by a
didn't hear that
copperhead
story?
in that same yard?
Say again?
You're saying this man got bit by a copperhead in that same yard?
No. That's his yard. He got bit by a copperhead playing disc golf in a park that's close to that's in our town. It's just a bit of irony. He's been snake bit.
Was he in a bad condition? Did he have to spend much time in hospital, or was he?
Yeah, he had to go to hospital finally. He didn't go initially, but he had to go.
Yeah, you kind of have to go, otherwise you're going to have at least a very bad infection, if not a flesh-eating bug.
Yeah, it's not a flesh eater. It did a little bit of damage, but anyway, like I said, it was beautiful. It just surprised me a little bit because I was thinking about something else, obviously, and I wasn't in the wood line. When I'm in the wood line, I'm pretty aware of my surroundings. I'm pretty aware of my surroundings for the most part anywhere I go, but kind of surprised. The size of it surprised me for the most part because I'm used to garter snakes. I mean, I've seen thousands of them in my life, but this one was the biggest one by far. Nothing's even close.
When I was in Asia, I went into this shop. It was in Bangkok. I was passing through Asia, and I went into this shop where they had leathers and stuff like that made out of different leathers, and I don't know what it was. I can't remember even more why I went in there. But I went in there, and they had the skins of 2 king cobras crossing from across the ceiling, and they were phenomenally big. These skins.
Oh yeah,
Huge. Yeah. And where I was staying, so sometime later, I left the city and I was down in the countryside. And where I was staying, there was a king cobra came around where the showers were, and they were trying to capture it. Now I didn't see it, but they were trying to capture it. All the people who work there. But they when they go up, they literally meet you eye to eye. If you're just a normal sized person, they meet you eye to eye. They go up that.
You want to hear something? You want to hear something funny? When we came, I was Brooklyn my whole life, so they took us upstate to the country. Now in Brooklyn, you play with garter snakes in the pet shop. You hold them; they're nice. We seen a garter snake upstate. We grabbed it. That sucker turned around and bit me. We're like, what the heck is this?
Oh, by the way, the thing I was talking about earlier, it's jackboots, apparently. I don't know what the hell willies are, but maybe that's just a more British word. Jackboots.
Wellington boots, they're called in Britain. Wellington boots. That's where the word wellies come from. Wellington
It
boots.
just showed wellies, just like that, no explanation added. But apparently it's also jackboots. Digging a little deeper.
What about his hotnail boots?
Sorry, Neil?
What about hotnail boots?
What are they?
What?
I thought you would know. It's in a Beatles song.
No, I mean, come on, like the whole fair.
Oh, it's European.
Yeah, but the Beatles, like that's a bit before my time. Like I wasn't born till the late 70s, mid to late 70s. So
yeah, we could tell.
what gave it away? My age.
1980. 1980, baby.
77. That's when I was. Oh, and awesome, yeah.
Shit, I got more time in the chow line.
I was 12 when you was born.
That's right, Joel. You were born 12 years prior, 65. Was it, Nate?
65 for who?
For me.
He said me. I wasn't born in 65.
Oh no, I didn't say you. I said Neil. Neil was born in
Oh,
65.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. He's a young pup too.
Did you ever get spider bites, Kiwi, when you were out on the field?
What the hell do you think?
I would say definitely.
I seen a big ass spider back in his yard again yesterday. I should have took a picture of it, but I noticed him, and Mark Tim knew where he was. So he was a nasty little thing, that big old fat body too. And I tell you what, he was aggressive, real aggressive, especially with his web. He was kind of particular on it being right.
Oh, some of them are pretty gutsy. They'll turn around and they'll stare right at you. It's like,
yep. I had one in Virginia. It was like spider fucking bonanza, and he was a big old bad son of a big old brown badass son of a bitch, man. I got a stick, and I poked him. That son of a bitch turned around and started coming at me. I said, "Okay, you're a badass. I'll let you live." I mean, that takes some chutzpah. I said, "You're all right, man," and I didn't muck with him.
Yeah, if you take in the size difference, like, they're really stating that I don't care, pal, who you are or what you're supposed to be. It's on.
Yeah, it is. It's on. It's your ass. That's when you have to question yourself.
I was talking to a guy last week, and I don't know, it came up. I was just talking to a guy in a shop, and just having a bit of a chit chat. And I don't know if this is true or not, but he sounded like he knew what he was on about. And he was telling me like the amount of spiders that, like when you're asleep, get onto your mouth and your lips, and if your mouth's open, they go inside your mouth and you swallow them. And he said, but he sounded like he studied this, and I said, "Oh, I thought I'll check all that out. I've not checked it out." But he was telling me these stories like that. That's where they go because of the warmth and the heat coming out your mouth, and you don't know you're swallowing them. Don't know how big they are.
I don't know. That's something I've heard that claim before, and I don't know. Spiders aren't stupid. I think they know where your mouth is and what it is. They can smell you. They can smell your socks. They can smell your body. They can smell your hair. I mean, they know like whether you're somewhere they can go successfully or not. So I don't know if that's true because I've heard that before, but it seems to be just something people pre-assume.
Yeah, it's unprovable.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying it's unprovable. I think that claim is totally BS.
Yeah, but see, some spiders, like the widow spider, likes damp, dark conditions. But even they won't go into your mouth because they know better. They know better than going into your mouth. I mean, any time a widow spider lands on you, just stand still, and the little thing will try and get off of you. You know what I mean? And widow spiders are biters, as we all know. I got 4 bites.
What about a brown recluse, Brian? They're dangerous by me.
Brown recluse are dangerous because, a black widow and a brown recluse are dangerous because, as far as I know, with the brown recluse, it's the same way. Once they bite you, they can only give you the same bite. What I mean by that is they can't temper their bite. So when a black widow bites you, it's the same bite every time. It'll be the same strength of bite. And I think the brown recluse is the same. And what's wrong with that is that you won't only get infection, but you'll start getting. I think you can become certainly somewhat immune to it, but you can start getting like a flesh-eating bug type thing happen, where people have lost fingers and different things over it. Now, what we have here are false widows. Now, I've gotten bitten 4 times by false widows. We have loads of them here, where I live in my garden and that. And what it was is I used to always go out into the garden out with the clotheslines and be just not watching what I'm doing, and one of them get caught in my clothes. So 4 times I got bit, and luckily enough, with the false widow, they can give you a dry bite, which I think I got as well at some point, or they can give you a bite that will cause you to be sick, which I got. So I was 4 times I had an infection and stomach bug. So it was like that for like 2 weeks. That kind of thing, a lot of sweating, losing weight, stomach bug. But then they can decide, depending on how threatened they feel, they can decide, the false widow can decide to give you a full strength bite, and their bite is worse, as far as I know, than a black widow when they give a full strength bite. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know if the what they call the redback in Australia is exactly the same as the black widow, as they can't temper their bite, but I think it is, because I know when I was there, people who are Australians wanted to have nothing to do with redbacks, especially for their children. They want their children to have nothing to do with a redback. So if a redback was only going to give you a possible infection, then I would say that they wouldn't be so scared of it. If there was an option for the redback to give you an infection, a dry bite, or a really serious bite. So
I got bit by a false widow once as well. But I tell you what, you should have seen how it tracked up my arm. It was all over. I think it was around my wrist area, and it ended up tracking right up near my shoulder. It was all swollen, red, inflamed. It was a nightmare. It took me ages to get it down, and I had to go have antibiotics and all sorts of stuff. But that was a false widow. So yeah, I've had one of them.
Yeah, you're lucky. Sounds like a bad bite. That was a pretty bad one now. I was okay. I just got a stomach bug and an infection for a couple of weeks each time. You'd be tired, you'd be sweating, the stomach, you'd be in the toilet all the time or whatever. So I was lucky. That's all I got. I have them out there now. I can go to them now. They're out in their porch out there. I'm friends with them, so we get along. So, and I do my best not to go near their webs and whatever. But if they do end up in my clothes, I'm going to get bit. That's it.
Yeah, this might be bullshit as well, but someone else. But it does. I don't know anything about this. Someone told me snake venom. If you get bit by a snake, the venom will target the weakest area in your body. Like if you've got a weak kidney or lung, it'll automatically attack that or go to that first. Now, whether that's because it's a weakness in your body and that's why it's doing that, and it's nothing to do with the venom, I don't know. But someone mentioned that to me as well. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that.
I can't state. I just don't know with snake bites, with poisonous bites. I have no idea. There is, I don't know what type of snake it is, but there is a snake where they'll bite you and then leave you go, and you think you're getting away, and then 2 miles down the road, they won't track you because they can't eat you. They're not big enough to eat a human, but they'll do it to an animal. They bite the animal. The animal thinks they're getting away. 2 miles down the road, the animal's lungs stop working, and they die. And that's when the snake, just as they're about to die, they're lying there. That's when the snake comes up again and eats them. So that's one of the snakes. I don't know what breed does that, but there's one of them does that. If anyone cares to look at the Guinness World Records, the book of Guinness World Records of 1988. That was the only book when I was younger I wanted a lot to do with, unless there was a book about Bigfoot or something like that. So the Guinness World Record, Book of World Records, 1988. There is a tribe in South America, and they're holding up this anaconda that they caught. And my God, you would want to see the size and the girth of this. Now the tribes people are all probably around 5'5". They're not big people, and they're not big in bulk. Let's just say they're not like bodybuilders or anything like that. But it doesn't matter. There's still there's plenty of people around you now today that are the same size as these tribes people. They're a full-grown human, and this snake would eat any one of them. They had a trap. They had their own way of trapping the snakes. This was absolutely humongous. I mean, it took, I think, 16 of them just to hold it up for the photograph. That's how heavy the thing was. You have it stretched out.
Bloody hell.
I mean, it's actually scary to see. When you see it, you kind of go, wow. I don't think people realize with animals just how big some of them can get. You can kind of imagine, you get a tape measure and go, okay, that's the height of a lion's head, let's just say. Also, it'll be that height. But you're not really taking into account then the whole girth of a lion or whatever else. There's a video I saw from South Africa where there was a shark, a great white, came along, and someone had spotted it with a drone, and they let someone in a canoe or kayak know. There was loads of people out there surfing, there was a few people swimming, and the person in the kayak came out to warn everyone that there was a shark there. Because, with drones now, they're seeing that there's great white sharks and all that way, way closer to people in general than people realize. So if you go out swimming off of Southern California, have no doubt, if you've been out swimming 5 times this year in Southern California, one of those times there was a great white shark within 100 meters of you, and you wouldn't have known, kind of thing. But this was off of South Africa, and the kayaker came out to warn the surfers and the swimmers to say, like, there was only a couple of people kind of floating around, but mostly surfers, because obviously it was a surfing area with the waves, but to tell people to get in. And everyone went, okay, yeah, we'll get in. But the shark was under the water, so which means that you can't even determine its actual size because it was under the water. So you don't know, because it's obviously, you can't see it clearly. But this shark was absolutely monstrous. I mean, the person in the kayak, it would eat the kayak. It was huge. So I don't think people really realize just how big some of these things can get. It was scary to see.
Like birds of prey, innit? You look at some of these birds, the wingspan of these birds of prey is, they can get up to some meterage, can't they? I don't know what the biggest one is. I think the albatross is pretty big. Some of the eagles, but their wingspan is massive. When you see them up close, you know about it.
Yeah, I saw, first time ever that I saw eagles up close, proper, I don't know what breed of eagle, they were proper, one of the bigger ones, or maybe just they're all big, but I never saw eagles before up close. I've only seen them on television flying around or whatever. I was at this nature reserve, and there was these 2 eagles, and they were both standing. They must have been standing, from what I could see. They were both perched, but they must have been, if they stood next to me, they must have been 4 foot in height, or maybe, they were huge. Their talons and that were bigger than my hands. My hands are over 8 inches in length, and their talons and all that were bigger than my hands. If you look at the length, the tip of one talon to the next was bigger than my hands. It was huge. I mean, you could see how that could come down and grab you by the neck and tear a chunk off if they can't lift you up, which they might be able to do. And see you later. Part of your neck is gone. What are you going to do? You can't chase them.
Yeah, even these seagulls. I mean, I work on rooftops.
Sorry,
I work on rooftops. Sorry, yeah. So nature.
I was picturing parts of my neck being ripped out in the next sentences. And the seagulls? No, definitely not. They might steal your chips.
No, but I've been out on a roof working at supermarkets on the refrigeration. You have to go out to the condensers and the gas coolers, and sometimes they've got the seagulls have got the nests up there. Now, when you walk out to look at the fans, or if you've got a problem, these swoop down at you because they don't want you to go near their youngsters. And there's one shop in Wales where I used to go in Bangor. You had to take a big umbrella out because they were swooping down at you. And when they get close, they're big. That'd been an idea to take a bag of chips out when they really.
Just think, this all started off with a centipede biting your ass in Hawaii.
Biting your ass in Hawaii.
But just going back to we were talking before about these anti-flat earthers and how they get quietened off. But I'm being serious. Since I've been asking them for the, where is the tangent line mirror on the sextant, because I can't find it, and I'm sending them diagrams of the sextant with the horizon mirror, and it does say on the horizontal where you get your flat baseline, see horizon. I'm saying, can you point out where your tangent line mirror is, please, that you're using? and they've fell asleep now. They're not coming back to this one. So I don't. For some reason, it's really bugging them that I'm asking them this question, which I'm really enjoying, to tell you the truth.
A tangent line mirror.
That's copyrighted.
Did you already say that?
What do you mean I already say that? Where do you think that came from?
A tangent line mirror?
Yes.
I wasn't aware. I wasn't
you.
aware of that, QE.
Oh.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
I should have marked them all down. It would be an encyclopedia, though.
Encyclopedia of copyrights.
See, I'm saying this with a big smile on my face, just waiting for it, because I'm a counter puncher. I'm just waiting for the reaction.
An encyclopedia. That's a lot of copywriting.
Yeah. So, did you find the dumbest thing ever uttered by a human yet?
I don't think so, because what I text to you last night, you said was a nope. So no. So no, I haven't found it yet.
It's one of those
What's
things
the
that's right
question?
in front of your face, man. Yeah, don't. You always go deeper than you should when it's right there.
Does it have to do with the model? He was talking about something with a model.
I think you guys have a problem with paying attention to just really important details.
Oh, shut up.
Well, he did say.
What was the question?
Wait. Just wait. What did I tell you? Now, it can't be in the part that I already went over. Now, could it? Because I would have called it out. This is what I'm talking about. You guys don't pay any attention to friggin' detail. You must be snorting paint chips from the 70s.
Well, then how are we supposed to know if you didn't go over it yet? I thought it was
You
something
already
we went
know
over.
you already know that it can't be in the part that I just went over. Now, you know it's in the part because I told you I was going to bring it up on the next evaluation. So you must know. Do I need to go any further?
Oh, got it. Understood.
Jeez.
So we were looking for something in a hay barn, and it was in the other hay barn.
It was in the hay barn with the hay already taken out. I gave you that much. It was already, right? So you know it must be the new hay bale.
And there's no way you're going to tell us what this thing is then.
I'm not going to, I shouldn't have to tell you.
So I have to go and watch that 5-hour thing with Anthony and these guys.
So you still are not getting it. Now, how many, I already told you there's going to be many parts to this, right? So, I've sort of in my mind, I haven't physically chopped it up yet. I don't know where I'm going to start or stop for the third, fourth, or fifth one or sixth one, right? But you already had that. Yeah, you should have already got that much, right? Oh, brother. Somebody's going to find it now. What can you summarize of what I've already told you about its location? What could you already surmise?
That it's after the point that you stopped on.
Yeah.
In your last assessment. Yeah.
Yep. It's after that. And it must be. And then I also said there won't be another 5-hour presentation, right? I'm going to chop it up in parts.
Yeah. So it could be in any of those parts.
Yeah. No. Well, no, because I told you I was going to bring it out the next show.
Yeah, but we don't know whether what way you're going to go about your assessment for the next show. We don't know if you're going to go past things that you already covered, or we're just saying
that's irrelevant.
Next,
that's irrelevant, because if it had already happened, I would already said it. It would already been out there. So even if I go back and do a little bit, I always, go back like 5 minutes or so just to get everyone up to speed again. Right. So it wouldn't have been back there. Now I understand. Now they said a lot of stupid shit. Granted. I mean, it is trying to find a needle in a haystack. And maybe this one just stands out to me as so retarded in the midst of retardia. Maybe it's just, it could be just me. Well, we'll see. You'll find out soon enough.
Well, I'm going to wait to find out, because that would be easier than trying to find out and being told you're wrong. Again and again and again, because I have a feeling I won't spot
it. Yeah, you go all around it, right? Because it is a sea of stupidity. Granted. However, that wasn't my issue. That wasn't my issue. My issue was with you crayon munchers not identifying the hand grenade location. That's my issue. With you.
Well, with me.
Not you personally. You as in the royal you, as you crayon munchers out there that I told.
Okay, sorry. Well, maybe I am a crayon muncher on this issue, because I actually might go and listen and not find it. So what can I say? You know what I mean? If I can't find it, it means I didn't find it. So I'm the same as everyone else.
And there could be, like I said, I've only went through the whole thing once. So I can remember belly laughing at different points. I'm saying this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard up until this point in my life. Now, if I go over part 3 and part 4, if something stands out, I'll let you know. I mean, there's going to be stupid shit, but not to the level. I mean, this is summit level. The pinnacle.
Summit level. And Everest. The Everest of stupid. Wow.
You might not get it. See, I went past it first and it didn't get, I didn't evaluate it for its utter stupidity that it deserved. Because like I said, I looked at 5 hours too, and I said, oh my God, right? This is going to take a long time. So, like I said, I could just remember, with the stupefied look on my face constantly, but this one really stood out. I mean, really, like what? And he said it a number of times. And Norm confirmed it. And he said it a number of times. And then explained it. I'm giving too much away now.
No, Norm tends to come in at really stupid points. He does. Norm explained. Go on, sorry.
No, I'm saying Norm. See, they're retarded, right? There's no doubt about these two bozos are certified retards. But Norm is on a different level. See, Norm is a scary retard. Because if you look at him, if you look into his eyes, you look at his nonverbal cues. I mean, the other guy's just a fucking plain bozo. But Norm, that fucker's really scary. I mean, that's the one you move out of the fucking state on.
Yeah, well, he did come in to explain how if you add energy to water, you will cause it to boil, and if you remove the energy, you will create ice. I mean, but he did it in such a way, it gave the impression that he had said something profound.
He also said something like CO2 contains heat or something like that. Was a bit pathetic as well.
Oh yeah, there was a relationship between CO2 and heat. Yeah, I was wondering when whether it was PG or R rated.
Then he gets his independent and dependent variable the wrong way
Excuse me?
round.
Well, what I found really, really, really enlightening was the fact that they claimed the same exact things as Jaron and them were claiming.
Yeah.
It was word for word nearly.
Was it? That's
Oh,
what
he's-
stood out
he
to
was-
me when I went ahead and I found it, right? And then I started listening to it. I said, OMG. This was like, it's meant to be. And that rhymed.
OMG, it's meant to be because it's their destiny.
Yeah, it is though. It is meant to be because it's strange the way that happened. The very topics, scurvy and boiling water, both of those examples being used as as simplistic examples of the scientific method for anyone to understand. They both, like both Jaron and Whitsitt argued against them, especially Jaron, and Bob maybe as well, I don't know. But these two guys argued against it. It's like, at one point, I'm pretty sure your man Rob said at one point, no, like that he doesn't cause water to boil, or that was what he was. It's like no, or so, he just went no to Anthony when Anthony. It's like what, and he did. Sorry, he did say with scurvy. He said he did state clearly a PhD. No, scurvy is not caused by a lack of vitamin C. That's basically verbatim what he said.
Yep. Oh, that is what he said. A number of times. No. Remember I told you at the beginning, Rob has this thing of yahas and nuh-uhs, like Brenda. It's throughout this thing. Just yahas and nuh-uhs and just stupid. There is so much stupidity. These guys, I'll tell you what, if I was a Glober and I listened to this, the full thing that I'm going to do, if I wasn't a flat earther, like in the first 10 seconds, then that person right there, he needs to be institutionalized. That's how bad it is out there.
Well, I would be totally behind you, not behind you asking, but I'm saying for anyone to ask, just behind your sentiment, and I won't be surprised, but I'd be somewhat surprised if I don't hear Anthony asking him to produce his credentials. Because if he's claiming to be a PhD astronomer and he's teaching or lecturing in a university in Tennessee or whatever, I mean, the parents of the people who are in his class, they need to know, basically.
They need to know.
I mean, they're paying good money. Go on.
No, they don't need to know. They're not paying good money. Their parents need to know.
That's what I'm saying. Their parents need to know, because there's students getting into student debt, right? And now, okay, granted, it's not all for college and education purposes, but they are supposedly being educated in this man's class, and he's telling them that he's figuring out the actual sizes and temperatures of lights in the sky through a telescope, looking at them with a telescope. And he's denying then, separately on YouTube, he's denying that the lack of vitamin C causes scurvy, and that basically denying that the IV is heat when it comes to the DV being boiling water. It's like, I mean, someone needs to know. So, like, their parents need to know that this man, like he has no business doing the job he's doing. I just don't. That's the truth.
He has no business with a driver's license.
Yes. That man is on the road. You know what I mean? He's like the Grim Reaper, maybe.
He doesn't even know what a hypothesis is. It's go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was going to say, I mean, it went for a long time there where his key question was he needs to see that an IV and a DV must be in an experiment and in a hypothesis. I mean, what's left after that?
Yeah, give me a citation that a car requires wheels.
Yeah,
to go.
exactly.
It's that ridiculous.
That's another game. I think he got it from Gem Panda. Gem Panda plays that fucking idiot game. And that's what I told him. I said, please give us a citation that bread must have carbohydrates in it. You'll never fucking find it.
Yeah, because why would someone need to cite that?
Right, because
it's unbelievable.
Exactly. So they play their little Elmer Fudd sophistry games, and I just beat him about the head and shoulders with a nail spike 44-inch Louisville Slugger. I don't mind.
Yeah, he's citing Blue Marble Science and MC Toon. I mean, and you're citing accredited physicists and stuff from actual universities.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What was the man's name? I can't think of it now. Who you cited and you compared his reference of MC Toon to Craig Venter. I think it was Craig Venter. Yeah, so MC Toon over Craig Venter, who is a geneticist, isn't he?
No, it's MT Soon.
MT Soon, yeah, MT Soon.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!